and thank you for joining. Apologies that we are starting 7 minutes late, but it's better to be late than not to do the whole thing. So today's session is automating loan amortization in Excel. And as you can see, we have a guest. So it's not just me again. And today our guest is Michael Oladeji. I'm going to tell you about him. So let me not say too much about him at this stage. And quickly, I want you to be aware that this is brought to you by UrBizEdge, but also we have as a sponsor Financial Modeling Institute. Okay, and Financial Modeling Institute, to me, I think they have the most robust certification program. I think their certification program is the most respected. Again, I'm saying I think because it's not like there's an independent body that has done an objective evaluation. But anyone who is looking to get a practical certification that you can be proud of to say, okay, you know what, I know how to do financial modeling, I've been certified, and someone can independently go and check about the certification and see if it holds water or not. I think you should go for advanced financial modeler certification. So if you're interested, I will share a link of how you can take advantage of the discounts they have given our community, you and me. Okay. So, and about UrBizEdge, we're a registered consulting and solutions firm. So if you need training on any of what we train on, you can always reach out. So Michael is a CFA charter holder, which is a very big deal. If you know anybody who started the journey of CFA, you know it's not a small something, many years, a lot of I think he's just in a category of its own. Anyone who holds it, they're usually proud of it even more than a master's, maybe some even more than a PhD. So he's an experienced chartered accountant. He's got a lot of experience in the energy industry and obviously also in the consulting space. He's got over 5 years experience in financial reporting, technical accounting, performance measurement and management, financial modeling too, quantitative finance. You can see the list is long. He's currently a senior consultant at Deloitte, and before that he's worked at PwC. He's one of the founding team members of the FP&A unit at Sarah Group. And he also likes sharing his knowledge, which is why we are lucky to have him. He teaches on strategic financial management, corporate reporting, derivatives, and FRA, financial risk. I think that's about the risk pattern. I hope I'm correct. So I'm going to leave the stage for him right now. I'm going to stop sharing. So Michael, please, over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So it's a pleasure to have you, sir. I'm going to also turn off my video so I don't share the spotlight with you. Okay, so please, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to share my screen. So kindly confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Michael. I guess. So that's
Yes.
okay. So thank you so much, and again to the organizer. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here. So, I mean, I don't used to take it for granted anytime I have the opportunity to sort of either share my knowledge or my experience. So it's for me, it's always a two-way thing. So as much as I want to share my experience, I'm also looking forward to, of course, hear one or two things different, or maybe even also learn one or two things from the participants also. So I believe it's going to be an interactive section. So I can just get into the topic. So the topic is automating loan amortization. So I mean, it's a very simplistic topic, but again, given the way the economy is going, I mean, in every world, credit is the major driver of any economy. So today you could see that we have over thousands of companies lending money. So it means that in these lending companies, they will definitely need to prepare, of course, look at the schedules of their loan. So it means that those loans needs to be amortized on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, depending on the terms of the loan. So when we say loan amortization, it's just basically saying that trying to project what the balance of the loan will be for the lifetime of the loan. So if I give somebody a loan of say 20 years, you want to see what the balance will be in months 1 up to the 20th years. So that's about 20 times 12 is going to give you about 4. You want to get about 480 months. So 240 months rather. So you want to project what the balance will be on a up to that point. So it means that you need to sort of, you don't want to be computing. I mean, when you get to month, so you want to recompute. When you get to month 8, that's at the inception of that particular loan, you can always project what the balance will be. And again, it's also a very good important tools when you are doing your financial planning, because of course you can sort of project based on your projection, you can sort of anticipate what your cash flows will be. And again, the last part is that it's also going to help you in a very, if you understand loan amortization, it's always going to help people that are into financial reporting. It's also going to help you in when you are doing computation of what we call expected credit loss, because your loan amortization balance is it's what we call the exposure at default when you are computing ECL models. ECL is expected credit loss model. So the loan amortization can form as your exposures at default at each point in time into the future, which of course I'll show you that also. So I'll start from the basic. Of course, the basic is just to show you how to sort of automate, how to sort of do this computation without necessarily having to compute again and again, and make it as flexible as possible, which is the starting point. So like I mentioned, basically loan amortization is just saying if I should give someone a loan of 5 million, for example, say I give someone a loan of 5 million. So I want to know how much on a monthly basis, I want to know how much should this person pay for the next 5 years, such that the loan balance will be written off to 0. So how much will he pay? So that's, again, you are trying to know what will be the monthly repayments for the person to pay off that loan. So when you go to all those lending platforms, so what they do basically is that you ask for a loan of 20,000. They ask you that, okay, do you want to pay back monthly for how many months? Right. So the system already sort of computes what will be your monthly repayments. The system also already computes what will be the amortized balance for each month, which is what is called loan amortization. So it's just basically, in simple terms, it's just basically projecting the balance of a loan for different points in time into the future. That's what loan amortization is all about. So I'll start with a simple model, for example. So let's say you want to buy a car, or it could be a house. You want to buy a car, and I mean the car is worth 2 million, right? They might ask you that, okay, how many months financing do you want? You might say you want 12-month financing, right? So they need to sort of do a computation to know, okay, this is the amount you need to pay on a monthly basis to be able to pay off this particular car loan within that 12 months. If you want 24 months, which is 2 years, this is the amount you need to pay on a monthly basis to be able to pay off that loan within that 24 months. If you want your repayment to be quarterly, also you can do that. If you want your repayment to be half yearly, if you want your repayment to be bullet repayment, meaning you are paying everything back at the end of the loan. So I'll just get those. So a simple example is, let's say you have a company that gives a financing. I mean, you can do 1 month financing. I'm using a car company, for example. You can do, I mean, these are the terms of the company loan. You can do 1 month financing, you can do 2 month financing, 3 month financing, or up to 2 years financing. These are the options that are available for you. So these are the terms of the financing that the companies sort of offer, right? So of course, 1 month financing means you only pay once. 4 months means you pay 4 times. I mean, you pay the first month, second month, third to fourth, and the interest per annum the company is charging is 20%, right? So the question will be that if you are the finance, let's say you are the finance or the person that is handling the financial planning, or even if you are the part of the loan team, right, or maybe marketing team, anybody. I mean, once you are dealing with customer, and the customer comes to me and say, I want to buy a car worth 2 million. Can you show me how much I need to pay every month? And he also wants to ask that, what will be my balance in month 7? I want to buy a car worth 2 million and I need a financing for 12 months. He asks 2 questions. The first question will be, how much will I need to pay on a monthly basis? That's his first question. The other question will be, okay, so at the end of 6 months, how much will be my balance with you? So that's like a question that customer wants to know. So, I mean, those things has to be handy. You don't want to be doing that for multiple customers, that every time a customer comes, you need to do your calculator and start pressing or modeling it again. No, you could have just create a simple loan. I mean, a loan calculator, a loan amortization table, such that you can even give it to the customer and say, just select this and select this. Select, very easy to relate with. Select what you want, and it's going to show you. It's going to show you everything you need about your payments, which is what we want to do. So this is a simple one. So we have this company that has this the financing terms, right? And this is the interest per annum that the company do ask for, 20% interest per annum, right? We want to build a loan amortization schedule, as people call it. So I'm assuming that you have a company. This is the terms of the loan, right? And I want to build a loan amortization for this company, so that any customer can come, select any amount they want, and also just see the amortization, what will be their monthly repayment like, what will be their balance at any point in time into the future. So that's just what we sort of want to do. So I want to use to make it more relatable. I'm using an example of a car dealer. Let's say you have a car dealer that has these different types of car, right? It has, I mean, it's making, I'm just, for simplicity, just 6 different types of car. These are the model for the year. I mean, 2010 BMW 1.2 million, of course. I mean, this is just a fictitious number, just for example. These are not real numbers. So like this for 2011 means BMW is 1320, like that. So if someone should come to your shop, I mean, if you're a car dealer, for example, I'm using car dealer as example. It could also be a mortgage also. I mean, if you're into a mortgage business, it could be that you have different apartments, you have different location also. So if I want to create a very flexible sort of a loan schedule that I can even give the customer and say, customer, you can, this already automate, or if a customer should just call you, you can easily just fill in with the customer details, and it sort of populates the different balances out for the customer. So I can create something. I mean, so I can create something very very sort of easy for the customer to relate with, or even if you are, so I want to create something that the customer can easily select. So I want to create karmic. The person has to select his karmic. You need to also select which share do you want. Of course, I need to know those information. I need to know, okay, automatically the amount of that cash should pop up. The customer don't have to fill this. Of course, other things, I want to know what your financing tenor, the financing tenor for the customer. Also, I would like to know, so of course, that financing tenor will be what will determine the number of payments. So if I should choose, so the customer no needs to fill this, of course, we would, then of course, I want to know the interest rate, which is already determined by the company. That's not changing. Of course, the customer might say he wants to pay some portion of funds. You know, you can go and buy a car. Maybe the car is worth 2 million, or you can go and buy a house. The house may be worth 50 million. You might want to contribute, give some portion of equity first. Let's say 30% of that equity, meaning you don't want to use loan to buy everything. You want to just pay 30% of the value first. Then it's only 70% that you want to take as loan. So again, when you hear loan amortization, it's not just only to maybe like bank. It could be to any financing house. It could be even be to, I mean, those that do buy now, pay later. I mean, you are doing, you want to just amortize the loan. You want to show the position of the loan, how it's going to be. So, I can do this. So then, I mean, this feed into the initial payments. Of course, I'll sort of explain everything again. But just because I can't see so let me just check the chat box in case there are any questions, because unfortunately I'm not sure I can see the chat box. Why I'm on my.
I can help you with that one actually. So that's why I'm here. So I'll be monitoring.
Okay,
And whenever you like, now that you wanted to, you can just ask me, Michael, any questions, and I will answer. But I think right now, no questions. So what I've done is I've shared your LinkedIn. I've shared also things about the phone exam. So right now, no questions. If anyone, when you ask, I'll do the reading for you.
That's fine.
Carry on.
So again, I mean, I want the person to be able to select the kind of car they want, the car make, I mean, the amount. Don't forget, what we are trying to do is just to show that if somebody wants to buy a car and he needs to finance it with loan, how can you sort of have a system that sort of allow the person to just select his car make and the amount, and it pops up all the different computation about the loan in terms of project it into the future. If the person wants a 24 months, it projects it into, if you want just 3 months, it tells you what your balance will be in month one, what your balance will be in month two, what will be the interest you need to pay, what will be the principal you need to pay, and whatnot. So that's what we want to do. And again, it's also an opportunity for you to sort of use it to revise some of the basic Excel skills that, some of you already know. So if I want the customer to sort of feel this score. For proper stuff, it's very important to sort of, I want to sort of input color coding such that I can use a particular color for the input cells for my customer. So I just want to use that. So if a customer wants to select his comic, when you have a database, it's improper for you to, it's best practice is for you to sort of put controls in your either models or templates. Why? Because so that you can have standardization. Because if your data, your model, all the data you are getting from various sources, if something you need to use for a different customer, if it's not properly standardized, there won't be, it's going to make your model or your computation consolidation be prone to a lot of error. So this can make, since I have my database, best practice would be that I should just put that validation in the comic. I don't want the customer to type anything, because if you ask customer to type, or if you want to give it to different staff, people might type differently. So the best practice is for you to just, of course, introduce a data validation. If you go to your data, from this data validation, you can, of course, introduce the data validation. Of course, you can even put input measures to tell what the customer should do, to say, select karmic, select preferred car. Right, then that's an input measure, just to sort of, the input message is just basically to guide the customer what that particular cell is all about. If you have a cell, just to guide, right? So I can then come here, because it's a list I want to select, of course, because I have that in my database. I can just select it in my database because I have this in my database. So that's the karmic. So of course the person can easily select his karmic. Sorry, my laptop is already freezing. Close everything up. Just pencil. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's fine now. So the person can easily select, maybe you want a Kai, just to ensure uniformity. Of course, the person should also select. You can also put that the person should select years. You don't want the person to select beyond. You have your database. You have linked this to your database as, the database that you have. So I can also do a data validation. Of course, the reason for data validation is also, you can put those input message also. I don't need to put it in everything, but if you are doing your own practice, you can also put those input message. The input message is just to sort of guide the person. If what you have here is not explanatory enough, you just put an input message, such that when the person is using the drop down, the input message sort of guides the person. That's what the input message is for. So I come to my database also, and since I just have, this is a year, just for simplicity. Of course, you can make this your source of, if you are doing data validation in Excel, you can also link it, you can make it flexible. There are ways to make it flexible. If you are increasing your database, that's also increasing. But again, that's not, just because that's not my focus today. So you can select, the person can select any amount. So since I have amounts, I don't expect customers to put amounts. Once the customer selects the karmic and the year, it should automatically populate the amount for me, right? So of course you can choose any of your lookup formulas to do that. So I can use an index match to sort of do that, because I have two criteria here. So I'm looking at the index match in my database. This is my database. I want to sort of return. I'm trying to say, if you are choosing a car, you've chosen a make and a year, you should sort of return that corresponding sales. That intersection. So if I choose a BMW of 2011, it should return 1320. If I choose a Toyota of 2013, it should return 2,299,968 and 2,299,968. That's what we are trying to do with that. So the index is what's the table. The array is first the table where you want to return the value from. That's your array, right? Then the row number. So the row depends on, of course, this is your row. These are your row. These are your column. Your row is the horizontal. Then the column is the vertical. This like A, B, C, D, E, F. Those are your columns. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are your rows. So what we have here means the karmic is in row. Why the column is in what? The year is in year. So karmic is in row. Year is in column. So the row number. It's also the row number depends on what I select. So I'm using a match. Sorry. I'm using a match function to say I want to match this karmic. Remember, I'm trying to match this karmic you selected here. I'm trying to match it. That is, what is the position of that karmic in this? What is the position of the karmic in this particular space? What is the position? Right? Then you do an exact match, which is 0. You can, of course, put 0 as exact match. Then the column number, again, I will need to do another match. Right? I'm trying to match this year. That is, what's the position of this year in this database, this particular year in this database? What's its position? Right. So then that's all. So return it. So basically we choose KI of 2011. So it's returning 1580. So if we go to the database, KI of 2011, returning this, right? So if we change it to let's say Volkswagen of 2016, of course you expect that it returned Volkswagen of 2016 is there. You expect that it returned this figure. So that's that. So I don't know if there are any questions at this point. Okay.
So I'm checking. But guys in the house, I see we're a lot, which is a very good number. I think we are over 27 or what now. We're 27, maybe 26, excluding the trainer. If you have any question, you can also ask. If you think maybe typing it might take you too long, he's giving us a chance. So anybody has a question, you can unmute yourself and speak or raise your hand. And if you don't want to, maybe you want him to get back on track and you want to type it. Okay, so a question has come in from Oladeji. What other lookup functions can we use? Okay, so let me read it. Good, carry on. I wanted to read it again. I wasn't sure if you heard it, but let me just read it a second time. So it says, what other lookup functions can we use?
So for that, to do this amount.
I guess so. This one you use index and match. I think your audio just disappeared. Is it mine?
Okay, can you hear me?
Back.
Sorry.
Yeah,
my network was. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Great. Hello? Clear. Yes.
Okay, clear now.
Yes.
Okay, so because so in this case, we have multiple criteria. So again, you could have, there are a lot of lookup function in Excel. For example, you have your VLOOKUP, you have your XLOOKUP, you have your HLOOKUP. So if you want to use, the best one that is more flexible, that gives you, rather than imputing some hard-coded number, is that index match. But if I wanted to use a VLOOKUP to get this amount, so this is what I will have done. So of course I will have sort of introduced like an help somewhere before using a VLOOKUP, because if I want to use a VLOOKUP always allows you in this case, if I'm using a simple VLOOKUP, of course I can make the VLOOKUP do multiple criteria, but it depends on how flexible you know how to use VLOOKUP. But if I use a VLOOKUP, you can use a VLOOKUP also, but it's not going to be a direct as as the way the index matches. But in this particular case, I mean, the best lookup function to use is actually the index match. If you look up, a basic VLOOKUP will only give you to just look at one criteria, meaning you can say you are looking for, let's say I'm looking for this karmic, right? In this table, in this same table, right? Then I'm looking for it in column index, and I can put a match inside here also to help me return the column index I'm looking for. So in this case, I can put a match inside here to say the column index depends on the column index, because I've chosen the VLOOKUP. That is, the VLOOKUP is looking for this karmic. So I can put a match to say, look for this guy. The column index should be this guy. Because normally you need to put the column index, but I don't know the column because this is 2016. I could have typed 5, no, but that will make it won't be flexible. So, but I can use a match inside the VLOOKUP to get the column index. I'm saying look for this guy, this 2016 guy. Where is the position of 2016 in this array? In this header, where is his position? Right, then 0. Then I do it's also an exact match. So it still give you the same stuff. I don't know if that answers the person question. Again, you can use HLOOKUP. So just any instead of me using index match, when I use VLOOKUP, it's just one single match I use because of course I just select that criteria. The VLOOKUP, I already select the lookup array. Then of course I have the database. I just use match to get the position of the column index I'm looking for.
So someone is just asking, let me read.
Okay.
Let's see. So I'm going to read 2 more questions. So Khadija, she's saying, for someone not familiar with index and match, is there a way we could have structured the table for VLOOKUP to work?
Okay, so the way you could have structured the table for VLOOKUP to work is that, I use VLOOKUP here, right? But I don't want to, except let's assume the person don't know how to use match. So the problem is what help can we do to help us have return 5 here, because this is a VLOOKUP. Just that I use the match only to get the column index, right? So the only way is that you sort of introduce a helper column, a helper row again. Maybe the helper row is to help you give you year index, year column index. So it's more or less that you're saying if you just, maybe it's only VLOOKUP you know how to use, right? But again, I believe I can use an helper column to sort of help me get 2016 what's the index of 2016? Meaning, what does 2016? If I look at it, which position does 2016? Meaning 2010 should represent 2, 2011 should represent 3, 2014, 2012 should represent 4, like that. 2016 will represent 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It should be 8. So what formula can I put in this case? That if I choose 2016, you should return 8 here. Right. So again, if you don't want to use the match, right, you can write a basic formula to say you've already structured it. I mean, you can write a basic formula to just help you return what's the column index. So if you use column, there are other how will I put it? There are other complicated formulas that you can use, but that's already making your model or your templates more complex. So the best bet is either you use an index match, and if you choose to use a VLOOKUP, just understand what the match function is doing. I think the match function is a very simple formula, because it's just saying that a match function is just saying that tell me the position of this particular value in this array. That is, what's the position of this particular value, which is the lookup value. What is this? Match is all about positioning. So what is the position of that guy I selected in this list of headers? What is his position? Then I do command, then I put exact match, meaning it has to be the same. So that's why it's returning the 8. So I will have used a match function here to return 8. You know, if it has returned 8, then in my VLOOKUP, I'll just do normal basic VLOOKUP, which is equals to VLOOKUP of Volkswagen in my table. Right? Then I go back and select 8, right? Then I put exact match, right? So I mean, the match function is it's just looking for a position in a list. It's just saying if I have a list of everything, yeah, I have Michael here, I have Tosin here, I have Rashidat here. That is, tell me the position of Michael in this list. It means Michael is 1 there. Because Rashidat in this list, it means Rashidat is 3. So that's just what match is doing basically. So I don't know if that's clear.
Thank you. Yes, so we are good with the question. Someone else wanted to ask a question, but he or she later replied that, oh, okay, sorry, there's one other question. I'm looking at our time, huh? So I don't want us to do the index and match too much, such that you will now have time for the. So the person just wanted you to do the index and match again, but I'm thinking I would just say we'll do the recording now. The person can watch it so that also too won't struggle for time with the other parts, because I'm looking at what you're doing and it looks like we have more juicy things ahead.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. So you can carry on.
So this, I'm just putting a note here just to select the year. If I don't want to use, like I mentioned, you can choose to use the input message box in the validation. So again, tenure also, it just basically, I'm just moving fast. So you have just go to the data validation also, because we are just trying to, so you go to data validation, of course, it's going to be list, because I already have my table here. I just select that these are the option, right? So meaning this is the option the guy can always sort of select, right? So I have number of payment, of course, because it's opposite. So you can use your direct VLOOKUP if you choose not to use an index, because this is just, I'm just looking at this VLOOKUP that guy in this table. Then the position is 2. I don't need to find that, right? Okay, I've not selected anything. Okay, so of course you can put an if error, because of course in your formula such that, so that when you have nothing, it can sort of just make it blank, right? So having any in your formulas are not really good. So I can include an if error, meaning if, because the reason I'm including if error is because it's possible that you didn't select anything, of course, so that. Okay, so interest rates, you don't have to do anything, it's already given. I mean, I just link it back to interest rates. Of course, there's other better ways to do this, but because of time, we could have used a name range. So if I've named all this table, right, I could just be calling them easily. So the best practice in modeling is to use a name range, meaning you need to name all your assumption, name your table, name your cells properly, such that you can easily call them rather than moving around. It's very easy for the person to do that. Now, so when it comes to equity contribution, so I want to assume that this can be, you need to impute it. So, I gave an example just because I'm trying to build something more realistic. That's when you want to buy a car, or you want to buy that car, you might say the car is worth 3 million. You might say you want to contribute 10% first. That is only 90% you want for loan. So I want the customer to be able to put 10%. Of course, if I should just leave it open without validation, then that means that some customer can type figures. So it depends, what did I want the customer to put? If you choose that the customer should put amount, or you want the customer to put percentage. So if I want percentage, I will have included data validation there and put percentage and say, okay, I want it to be between 0 and, I mean, the person can do 0. Can do 1 now. So maybe you can put, person can contribute 20%. Customer is meant to put it. There's a value. If you want to put 5%, depending, the customer can. And if you want it to be in percentage, you can also do it such that the customer can put amount that, okay, of this 3.673, how much do I want to pay down? Like, how much do I want to pay equity contribution is just basically saying that I don't want to borrow everything. I just want to pay down 2 million. So it's only 1.6 I want you to borrow me, right? So if I should then do, so initial payment is just basically this multiplied by what you have here, of course. So meaning if the person choose 5%, this is what is contributing. So again, I want to put an if error there just to ensure that in case you choose nothing, you still have something. So it means if the guy should choose 20%, he will choose 30%. So you can see, so I put that because you've already put control such that if you don't want Excel to show this error message that is showing that it's not an error message, just showing that you can't type number. It has to be, you can't type a letter. It has to be a number. So that's the essence of validation. You know, you can imagine some people, you can ask them to type 10% and they might go and type it as, they can type 10 as 1 and not 0 and come and put O, like O in alphabet. So it's just to, those are the important. Of course, if you don't want the thing to show this error message, you want it to even give the person more instruction on what he should put there. You can as well do that also. So right, so the loan amount. So if the car is 3.6 and you are contributing 30%, which is 1.2, it means your loan amount is basically this, right? So that's the loan amount. So the next thing is now monthly repayments. So when it comes to loan amortization, there are 3 formulas, financial formulas in Excel that helps you in your loan amortization. So the first formula is what we call the PMC. You have the cum. So the PMC is a strong one. What does the PMC mean? The PMC basically just helps you to compute how much will be the monthly repayments or a quarterly repayment that needs to be paid on that loan to write it off to 0 at the maturity of the loan. That is, if I should take a loan of 10 million and I want to take that loan maturity for 5 years, how much do I need to pay every year that will write off that loan to 0 at the end of 5 years, considering the interest and every other factor in the loan? That's what is called the PMC formula. The PMC just sort of compute the monthly repayments on a loan to write it off to 0 at the end of maturity. Think about the PMC. I mean, for those that study finance, or I mean, if you should study accounting, it's just similar to when you do present value of annuity factor. So I'll sort of show you. So present value of annuity factor that you do in your finance, which is why my laptop is hanging. Okay, in your finance, you did something like let me just start a text box to do that. In your finance, if you remember, those that study finance, you did something like saying PV is always equals to A, open bracket, 1 minus 1 plus R, which is the annuity factor, raised to power minus N, the time, right? Then you divide everything by R. So think about this PMT as this A. As if you have a present value, a loan, the present value of the loan is 2.5 million. How much will you need to pay every year or every month that will make it write off the present value to 0? It's just the same way you used to do, I don't know if you should still remember your what you did in, I don't know, for those that study finance, where you now make A the subject of formula. So A, which is the payment, is now always equals to PV. We used to say A is equals to PV times R, which is your interest rate, divided by your annuity factor. That's what Excel is doing. It's just basically, I mean, this is what it's doing. So the payment is saying that if I should take a loan of this amount, how much will I need to pay? If you press the PMC, how much will I need to pay to make this my monthly, because this is monthly? How much will I need to pay every month to write off this loan to 0? That's what we were doing. So if I have this loan amount, the first thing in the formula, if you look at the formula arrays, is asking you to put rate. Now, this is your interest rate, right? Because it's monthly, I'm divided by 12. Of course, I'll still edit it to make it quarterly, just to build some flexibility in it. The number of payments, this guy is only choosing 2 months. So the number of payments is already here. I select number of payments. the PV of that loan is this. This is the present value. Now, this loan doesn't have future value, so you just ignore that. Of course, this loan, the formula is also asking you to choose, is it going to be beginning of period or end of period? So there are some loan that you pay in advance. You pay your repayments in advance. You know, the default is always end of period, meaning if I should take a loan, you know, you always pay at the end of the month, not at the beginning of the month. Meaning, if I take a loan, if I take a loan in January, they expect me to pay it back for 5 years. I'll pay the first repayment at the end of January, second repayment end of February. So that's what I mean by, is it going to be beginning of period payments or end of period payment? So the default is always end of period. But again, people can have loan that is beginning of period, but default is always, of course, end of period. So if I should have that, so what this loan is saying that I need to pay 1.3 every month to write off this loan in 2 months. You know, I chose 2 months. So if I should change this to, let's say we change this to 24 months to 2 years. So it's saying I need to pay 130K. If I need to pay 8 months, I need to be paying 36. If I choose, I mean, everything is right now. This just answer one of the questions that a customer might want to know, that okay, so this is the amount I need to pay every month. If I'm buying this car and I'm contributing 30%, it means I need to be paying 346,000 every month to be able to pay up the loan in 8 months, right? So that's the first thing. Now, the guy might want to know, in your own financial system, you might want to know what will be the balance on a month-on-month basis. That's what we now call the amortization schedule. What will be the balance? I mean, those that work in banks or those that work in any of these fintech understands the importance of having amortization schedule, right? Like I mentioned in the beginning, this amortization schedule also feed into what we call, you can use it as your EAD, your exposure at default, which you use to calculate ECL. That's for those that are in credit risk, that do work that relates to credit risk. Of course, I wanted to show you if you have multiple loans. I hope the time, but I'll just show you just because of time. So we have the amortization schedule. So if I want to create an amortization schedule,
Sorry, just to mention, as for time, take as much time as you need. So worst case is some people need to go because they have other things. They might drop off, but they will watch the recording. So please feel free to use as much time as you need.
oh, okay, that's fine. So amortization schedule. So we have this day we want to create an amortization schedule. Let's say I want to create this amortization schedule. So what you usually have in your amortization schedule is you have your period, your payments period. Your payments period. You used to have you can have your opening balance. These are the things you have showing. These are what we used to have in a proper amortization schedule. You have you also have your principal repayment. What portion of the principal are you going to? You have your interest repayment. You have your monthly total, your monthly repayments, which is what you are paying. The combination of your principal repayments and your interest is your monthly payments. Then you have your closing balance. So these are basically what we do have. So basically, when we do this, so what you have basically is to say in month 1, I don't want to type it. Like, I'm just going to type it first, then now use formula to bring it in. So basically, what you meant to have is that if this guy is doing 8 months, it should be month 1. Opening balance should be the balance of the loan, the initial balance of the loan. This is the opening balance. Then the principal repayment, I don't know. The interest is always, I'll get the principal repayment back. The interest is always this multiplied by the loan interest. Remember, because this is a monthly, you need to, of course, I will, of course, lock this down. Your monthly payments. Your monthly payments, we already computed that. This is your monthly payments. We already computed that before. So which is equals to this. This is locked down. Then you have your closing balance. Closing balance is always opening balance plus interest And because this is already negative, I don't need to, and that. So this is your closing balance. Then closing balance in year one, in month one, will be, of course, I'll use formula in all this period because we want to make it flexible. But closing balance in year one will be the opening balance. The opening balance in year two will be the closing balance in year one. Then that's how we do it. Your principal repayment basically is just the difference between what you have in your monthly repayments, which is this. I can decide to put this in a positive because I want to then minus, because it's minus this. So this is basically how do you get your principal repayment. If this is what I pay every month and my interest is 42, it means my principal is just the difference between the two of them. Of course, in some right, I can choose to change this thing to non-negative. You know, Excel, the default Excel PMC formula is in a negative, meaning because you are showing that you are paying, except you put this back in negative, which is a loan, right? So the default is always in negative. Of course, if I wanted this thing to be positive, I would have put a minus here just to show it in positive. Then I would have, of course, do this properly, as your principal repayment is just basically monthly repayment minus interest repayment, basically. So if I should do a monthly repayment of 346, right, and the interest that you charge me for that period is 42, and I paid 346, means that I've paid some portion of my principal, meaning the real loan balance. I've paid it. So that's how this goes on. Then this one, if I should just drag it down, so I need to change this one to minus, because so if I should just drag it down, if I drag it down to month 8, let's do, of course, like I mentioned, I'm going to change this to a I'm going to sort of automate this whole process rather than having 8. So just to explain. So this is what we mean by amortization schedule. So basically, see what happened here is that the loan balance, at the end of the day, the balance is now 0. That is, when we say amortize, we are saying how much we will be paying every month. And to write off that loan, that will make that loan balance to be 0 at the end of the maturity. And of course, when you prepare amortization schedule, it also helps you to show what will be the balance at each point in time into the future. So what this thing means is that at the beginning of the loan, the guy has already paid 1.1. So this is the portion that is loan. So that's the opening balance at the first month. When the guy pays his monthly, remember, you can see this is constant. The guy will be paying 346. When he paid 346, because that 346, when he paid 346, it will reduce his balance to 226. Don't forget, they will have charged interest on that account. It will reduce his balance to 226. That closing balance of month 1 will be the opening balance of month 2. That continues the whole process. So basically, a financial reporting or somebody that is doing credit risk, which is you need to do some complex modeling there also, maybe you are doing ECL, right? It needs this closing balance because this is the exposure at default, meaning this is the balance on this account at every point in time. This will be the balance, meaning that in the second month, the balance on this account will be 112. In the third month, the balance on this account will be this. In the fourth month, the balance on this account will be this. Fifth, sixth month, 7th month, then 8th month, the balance on the account will be 0 because you will have paid everything. It's just an 8-month tenor financing. So this is like the schedule. If you are doing it just an individual, just a single loan, which of course I want to show you if it's now multiple loans. If you have 1,000 loans, do you want to be doing this schedule for 1,000 loans? That would be time wasting. You could have created something that can help you sort of generate it for 1,000 loan at a go. So that's what we want to do. But before then, I don't know if there are any questions at this point before trying to now automate. I want to make this flexible rather than 8, because imagine if the guy is just 2 months. If I choose 24, 2 years, does it mean you need to come down and always be dragging? No, that's not flexible. If I should now choose 7 months, does it mean that the rest you just have it this way? You can see that your stuff is not jiving because you should have stopped here. But because you didn't make it flexible, so I'll leave it in 8 months. Then I'll now make it flexible. Then in making it flexible, you see what I'm trying to explain. So I don't know if there are any questions at this point.
So let me read all what has been happening. at the last one, someone was asking if you could do index and match again, but I said that maybe when we're all done because of these other important things. So I said maybe if at the end, if there's chance. Then after
Okay.
that, someone asked about uh, let me just go straight to the okay. So someone said that there are other lookup functions that are although there are other okay, great, you can see the questions too. Although there are other different lookup functions, their use are dependent on the task you're running. So I kind of I think he was even asking my opinion. So I told him, okay, yes, I mentioned some and said usually people use what either they like or that can do the job. Okay, so the main question started from the one Khadija mentioned. So she said, I need clarification on the financing tenure. Is it the number of times payment to be made in a year or the period in interval between the payment period for the car? So two of us tried to help, so Rashida and I, but since you are here, maybe I just let I hear directly from you. I think your audio has gone off. You're on mute, kind
Sorry.
of.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
so financing tenure is just is more or less like is the maturity. It's correct to say it's the number of times that you make payments in a year. So if the tenure of the loan is 24, is 2 years, it means you make payments 24 times since it's a monthly repayment sort of loan. So there are loans that are bullet or half year, which we will look at that if time permits. But for simplicity, we are starting with loans that it's a monthly repayment loan. So if a loan is a monthly repayment loan and the financing tenure is 8 months, so it means that I'll expect that payment is made 8 times. If a loan repayment, if the loan tenure is 10 months, it means that payments will be made. You need to pay back 10 times. I mean, you need to pay month one, month two. I mean, your monthly payments has to be 10 times. So I don't know if that clarifies for you, Khadijat. Then I need clarification. Okay, that's then Rashid. Okay, if I'm right, that should number of years. Okay, then okay. So I think I don't. I think that's all right. Or are there any other question I'm missing?
No, so those are all for now.
Okay. Okay. So now, so we want to try and sort of automate the whole process of what we did. We're trying to make, we want to try and make all these options that we have here to be flexible. Like what we are trying to do is that we are saying that no, if you give somebody this money and the guy selects 10 months, it means that you need to have been here to drag it down to 10. Or if you give the guy the money and the guy selected something like 5 months, it will show something, it will show a result that you don't want, because even after the expiration the computation will continue. So we need to introduce something to make the schedule adjustable to what the customer selects, or what I mean you select in your own case. So that's what I want to do now. So we'll start from this. Now, instead of me writing 1, 2, 3, I can let the model do the writing for me. I mean, I can let the schedule do it for me rather than hard coding it. So how do I do that? So I'll start with a simple stuff first. So I'll start like saying this, that if, so I'm using the if function. So I'll start by saying if the guy did not select anything, that is, I mean, this place is 0 or is blank. That is, there's nothing here. So let me lock it to say, because if the guy did not select anything, that this thing should not even do any computation. It should not compute anything. So I'm locking that cell, that particular cell. I'm saying that if this guy is maybe 0, he didn't select anything, everything is just blank there. Then I say that the model should just give me return blank. It should not compute anything. Then I'm not saying that what if the guy selects something? I want the model to be the one to calculate one, to know the number of time it should impute. So a long approach will have been you write an if formula that will show if it is 8, you now put do 1 here, do 2 here, do 3 here. That's going to be a long. If it's, I mean, that's not a very flexible formula. So there's a formula called row formula. So a row formula is handy in this case. So because I want to introduce the row formula, I want to just explain what the row formula does. So you have rows, you have a row formula. A row formula, what does a row formula does? A row formula is that if I tell Excel, it's just sort of return the row number. So if I tell Excel, what is the row number of this place? What is the row number of this place? So I expect Excel to return 16. So basically, because I want to use that formula. So I'm telling Excel, what is the row number of this place of this? So if I tell Excel, what is the row number of this particular cell? So this particular cell rather, I expect Excel to return what? Basically, I mean that I expect Excel to return 14. So that's just row formula. That's what it does. Now, when it comes to Excel, sometimes you need to use combination of formulas just to arrive at a good result. And sometimes, I mean, you think about the best formula that would, of course, reduce the length of your formulas. For me, I mean, sometimes when I was earlier in my career, I used to write very long formula. I remember in Twitter, we used to do when we are doing models. But I mean, as I go further in the career, I noticed that, okay, it's always difficult for my bosses to even review those formulas. They just nod their heads. So it's very important. Then you begin to invent the shortest formula to sort of produce that same result. So it will be easy for anybody to review your formula, to sort of review your models or any validation that needs to be done. So I want to introduce a row formula. No, one way that I could have introduced one here would have been telling Excel to do this row. I want to include one here. I will have tell Excel to do sort of the row that I am now, row 17 minus. I'll have asked Excel to do row 17 minus row 16. But I'll log that 16. So look at what I'm trying to do. So of course I'll clear this again just so that I can sort of understand this row formula. So let me clear this first part first. Let me even clear that I want to clear this part. I'll put it back. So look at this. Instead of me typing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can use this row formula to type it. So what does this row formula does now? Look at what it has basically does. Remember, I said the row just introduce. It just give you the count of that row. It just give you the row reference number. That's just what it does. So look at the way I introduce one here. I introduce one by using this formula. I say, because I just tell Excel to do 17 minus 16. Then if I go down, I'm telling Excel to do 18 minus 16. Don't forget, I already absolutely logged 16, right? I logged 16. That's what I've asked Excel to do. So, but if I want to tell Excel, if I can do a formula and say, Excel, this thing you want to do, don't count any row. Only count row if the results that I have in this row. Don't forget, let me put it again just to make you understand. I want Excel to do something that if I should select 5, that is what we have here is 5. I need Excel to just only do up to 5. I'll have dragged down the formula. I need Excel to stop at this point. It should not calculate 6. 6 should be 0. You should just show blank in 6. That's what we are trying to do. I'm trying to tell Excel that once this place is 5, what is here? If it's 5, don't do 6. 6 should be 0. Stop at 5. So we can create an if formula there. So the if formula is just to say, if the results that I have here, these results, let me put it in bracket. That is, if these results that I have here, if this result is greater than this, what is selected here, I need to log that. It's greater than what is selected here. Excel, don't do anything. Don't return anything. That's what I want to tell Excel. But that will be so the shortest way I'm telling Excel that. So look at this. If I should put this, so if I should do this, if it's not greater, then I'm telling Excel, just return your results. Do what you need to do. So that's what we are saying. Because that's the if false. What should Excel do? Just do what you need to do. Do your computation. So look at this stuff. So look at this formula again. We are just telling Excel that before you put something in this place, first evaluate the results of the row that you are in minus the first point in time. If that result is greater than this, just return blank. If not, return your answer, which I just basically copy this logical test inside here. So if I should put that, so let's see what Excel will do. So if I should drag this, you can see it stop at 5. If I should change, it didn't compute 6. If I've selected 4, it only completed for 3. Don't just focus on this. All this will still we edit it also to follow the same condition. If I should select 5, it will calculate up to 5 for me. So I'm telling Excel. So I've introduced a formula there to tell Excel how many periods should be imputed in this schedule. So the period that will be imputed should be based on what this customer already selected or what you select. I don't know if there are any questions here at this point.
Well, no, the questions that came up was still regarding the tenor and all, and some people have asked. They've answered. They've explained.
Okay. So now, but we are not done with this if again, because remember, what if the guy did not select anything? Like there's nothing here. Look at what has happened. When the guy did not select anything, if the guy did not select anything, Excel will have look at what it's calculating. So that's just to show that your formula is not still complete, because when we do that, it means you need to so this is more or less like you are stress testing your formula. You are stress testing it to see that what if the guy did not select any? In all cases, when he selects 2, everything is fine. Imagine when I now delete that the guy did not select anything, you can see that he's doing the computation. So that means that the formula is not yet complete. We need to, of course, introduce a first condition to say that once the guy did not select anything, if this guy, I'll just put is blank. If this guy here, so I need to select it, I lock it. I introduced that before.
I think something must have happened. Hi, Michael. Can you hear us? You're frozen. Oh, okay. He's messaged me. He says, I think he's swapped network. So he says he's joining back. Okay. So maybe what will happen, every questions now, we'll pile them to the end. So that way he can complete what he wants to do. Then I will just read all the questions. Then we get to ask him, because I also need to ask him his journey and his advice for people who are wanting to get into this space. So he says he's swapping his network and he will be in. Will be in soon. Thanks for understanding. Thanks for staying up to this time. So in the meantime, I can also share the things I'm supposed to let us be aware of.
Hey, my
So
network just
perfect. Yes, you came in and I got your message, so I told them. So you can carry on then. I'll stop talking.
Okay. So if
I think you might need to reshare your screen.
Okay, is it? I should share my screen.
Yeah, like you stop it, then you share it. So I think
okay,
that network stuff has frozen it.
Okay, so let me do that. I'm doing that now.
All right, sir.
Is he up now?
Can anybody see his screen so that I don't just be the only one talking? From my own side, it
No,
looks like it's blank. Okay, so not just
no,
me
it's
then.
still blank.
It's
It's still
blank.
blank.
Yeah.
Okay,
What if
let
you
me stop.
stop, like stop
Let
the
me stop
sharing?
again.
Let's see.
Okay, I'm stopping. I'm taking it up again.
Stop. Okay. Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we are trying to say that what we have before cannot. I mean, if it's blank, it's not producing. I mean, it's not. It means that the formula is not robust enough to capture scenario where customer did not select any particular tenure. So we needed to do if it is blank. So can I just pause for like 2 minutes? Somebody is in my gates. I need just to just open the gate for the person to come in.
Okay. All right. No
Yeah.
problem. So while he does that, please have shared a link. Uh, we need your, when we say feedback, it's just simply two things, more like what we can do better for the organizers. And if you have suggestions of speakers, as you know, we always struggle to get speakers for this financial modeling one. Whereas for the Excel ones, we always get like we get speakers even 2 months, ahead. So maybe if some of us are even interested in the Excel ones, I can share. You can always also, join the Excel community. That one happens at 4 p.m. Join the Excel series at. But like I am trying to emphasize, please give us your suggestions of people we can talk to and bring on board as presenters, so that we get a lot of diversity that we get for the Power BI and the Excel. I'm also putting the join the Power BI series. Okay. And for people who want to see past sessions, we've always been having these. I think this is our second year running. So I think it's back. The screen flickered. Okay, so this is our second year running, meaning that there are many sessions that have happened in case you are just joining us in this year or recently. How then can you access those ones that have happened before? Great. I'm going to share to you the place we put all the recordings. So recordings of past sessions are here. Let me paste it correctly. It's pasting in a funny way. Paste, paste, copy, paste. So that way you can go through that quiz, right? Okay. You can go through all the history, and if there are some sessions that you think will add a lot of value to you, and I think there are, especially the ones that have guest presenters, they always come with a flavor that is different. And I always tell people that that's one way of you even learning beyond your immediate environment, seeing how in other countries, in other niches, how what you know is being even carried out. And lastly, if you're interested in an AFM mock exam, and those who have already shown interest, I should have contacted us this week, but a lot of things happened this week. So, Michael, once you are in, let me know. So,
I'm back. I'm back.
oh,
So I was
okay,
just
great,
waiting for
please.
you to.
Oh, I didn't know you were back. Okay, please carry on. I was filling the space. There's nothing I'm doing that is
Okay.
important. Carry on,
Oh,
sir.
okay. All right. Thank you. So what we've just introduced, that the whole function, the whole formula that we did there now doesn't sort of help us to consider possibility of blank situation. So that's when you stress test your model, you see that that is not complete. So I've just introduced another conditions there to say that once this number of payments is blank, that is, if 6 is blank, it should then return blank. That means that it won't do the computation of payment period for you again. So which is what we've included to the formula, right? Then if I should redrag down, you can see that that's when I select, when it's blank, it's not anything. When it's 2, it will bring. When it's 5, it will bring something. When it's 8, 10, it will bring. So I can drag down to, let's say I'm doing up to I can drag down as long as I want. I mean, depending. But again, so when it's 2 years, it will do up to 24 for you, right? So that's the flexibility that you've just introduced. Then when it's 1, it should do 1. So since I've been able to do that for that, it means that I should, then it should be easy. You don't have to put that same condition in everything. I mean, if you are building your model, you could have replicate this same long stuff in other columns, but you don't have to do that. You can make other columns to be dependent on one column. So that will reduce. So this one I see 1, I can put a condition now to say once this guy, the only time you should return a number is only when this guy is not blank. So I'll tell you that if this guy is blank, right, you should definitely return blank too. You have no business computing. So that's just what I'm introducing. Right? So if this guy is blank, this guy should also be blank. Right? So the same way I'll introduce you here in everything also, that if I'm just introducing a if to say if this guy blank, you should also be blank. So that's what I'm introducing. So let me just copy it so I can easily put it across. Right? So I put it in this place also. That's just what we are doing. We are just putting that condition to say that once the payment period is blank, it should also be blank. Don't compute. Right? So then I can drag down my formula. So the beauty is that there's something in the first opening balance. Now in the second opening, because the first opening balance is coming from the loan, the initial loan balance. So the second opening balance is not coming from initial loan balance. It's just the closing balance of month 1. So I need to sort of replicate that in only this particular side to say if A18 is blank, don't do this. Then I can drag down my formulas. I mean, I can drag down as much as I want. I mean, then I can drag down as much as I want. I can drag down everything now. Let me say I want to drag down to any point. All right, so let's do something like this. If this guy is 7, okay, so you see the flexibility that it has sort of introduced. So if this guy is 7, you can see just compute 7. If this guy is 2, 3, you can see just have only 3. If the guy is 4, it does 4. If the guy is 7, it does 7. If the guy is 10, it does 10. If the guy is 7, right? If it's 1, you see just 1 month. So I don't know if there are any question at this point.
Wow, thanks a lot. I even had to do a clap because that's amazing. Like the moment people get this functionality, they always like it. If I'm a user, I like this experience over the one where the thing is not dynamic. So any questions before I move into my own questions? Okay, so while I'm waiting for the questions and maybe I can quickly start asking so that we get your answers quick because we have one other session coming up soon so that I don't eat too much into the time for that one. So please, we would like to hear from you, your journey. So how you got into this space. Was it like you're one of those people who started from the womb? You were already you're already doing amortization from your mom's womb. And then, we should not even try to follow your steps. Or maybe you are human like the rest of us and there was a pattern to how you started. We'd like to hear your journey.
Okay, so okay, I think I should just end. Once I end, I'm almost done with. Let me just end with conditional
Okay,
formatting, then I'll just take that. Yeah.
okay,
So
please.
again, I mean, you can also try to make your model, I mean, a bit fine by just putting some conditional formatting that is also sort of flexible conditional formatting. It doesn't, I mean, for all the areas that I select, I can introduce a conditional formatting just to say that I'm saying that it should, if there are any, it's more or less like I want Excel to to sort of highlight for me based on some set rules that I might have selected. So I want Excel to sort of highlight for me based on. So I'm saying Excel that I want Excel to I want Excel to highlight any cell. So for example, I can introduce a conditional formatting and say new rules and say I want to use it based on formulas. So conditional formatting also you can sort of apply formulas in conditional formatting. You can base it based on formulas. So I'm telling Excel if is blank, that is if this guy is number. So instead of me to use is blank, so there's a formula in Excel called is number is blank. It's just basically it's just a logical formula that is Excel is going to tell you if what you have in a cell is it a blank, is it a number. So if it's true, it will return true. So I'm telling Excel that to help me and check. The reason why I remove the absolute referencing is that so that the conditional formatting will look through all the row before highlighting. So I'm saying help me and check if this particular row, if it's a number, for example, this is one, yes, format it to, I mean, I don't know the colors you like. If you like, I mean, if you like this kind of color, I can say format it. I can even ask Excel to help me and put fonts, I mean, the way I want it, or put border and say, okay, put border for me also, for those guys, right? So then I sort of apply. So what does that do? So it looks like, so if I should, the conditional formatting will also paint together. If it's 5, it goes on to paint. If it's 9, it goes on to paint. Conditional formatting for you. If it's 7, it goes on. I mean, if you do 12, it goes on to help you do it. And again, if you have this model you want to share with a customer or even share with your field staff, right? You need to sort of lock it. So I mean, you can lock your formula so that the customer doesn't have to, I mean, anybody, users don't have to edit the formula. So if you want to lock your formula, basically just for you to sort of identify, first thing is to highlight the whole cell in that the whole sheet. Then you can press Control 1. Control 1 is just to give you the format cells. You first unlock, because the default in any workbook is that there's a locked, it's already locked. You need to unlock it, right? Then if you unlock it, you can tell Excel to help you identify formulas, because it's just formulas you want to lock. You can do that with F5. You press F5, you can go to special and say Excel help me identify formulas. If it does that, then you then go back to Control 1 also again to say those guys have selected, because you've selected all the cells by doing that F5 and selecting formulas. You selected all the cells that has formula. Then you tell Excel to log them. Then I mean you've definitely logged the formula. Nobody can edit the formula. You can then protect your, I mean, you can come to your home and protect if you need to protect your you come to this review and protect your sheets with, maybe I want to protect it with ABC. So that's all. That's what it does is that, I mean, somebody cannot come and you can't edit. I mean, if I should give you somebody, he can see the formula, but he can't edit anything except you want to use a VBA code. I mean, you can use a VBA code to break it, because VBA code will sort of iterate it. It's a weak formula. It will take him less than, it's just a 3-letter formula. Except I use a formula that I know it will take you like 2 hours for your VBA code but it's a weak formula. So I mean, the person can't edit anything. You can't edit anything. So I mean, that's because of time. I'll not be able to show you if it's a multiple, because this is what I will have shown you guys. If it's now a multiple, if it's sort of a multiple, it's a multiple accounts and it has different types of payments where you are using bullet, quarterly. But I mean, because of time, I might not be able to show that, right? Because we didn't. But I think this is a good starting point. So.
In fact, I think it gives us an opportunity to have a part two. Or what do you think?
Yeah,
Whether
no problem.
we could have a part at your own leisure, not necessarily like we will now try to take all your Sundays, or force a Sunday on you. But I think if it could even be a case where you will decide that it might be from the formatting part you will now start doing. So people
Yeah.
who join today who feel like because we are trying to gain time, maybe we took it a bit fast, or we are not giving enough time for their questions, or they are even afraid to ask questions, so they don't seem like they are dragging us back. They will have all
Mm,
that flexibility. So
okay.
people are asking if they can get the file. Is it something you could share? That's like three people have asked also. I mean, is it possible? Two is gone again.
Yes, I'll share it. I'll
Oh,
share it with
great.
you.
Oh, thanks a lot. So let me just let them know how they will get it then.
Hello.
So yes, yes. Thank you very, very, very much.
I don't know.
That's
Okay. Sorry. I
okay.
can hear you.
Great. Great. Thanks a lot. So, everyone, the answer is yes, is agreed to share with us. And the thing is, if you join the community, once I send it to everybody, you will get it. Okay. So, yes, sir. So the question about how you, um,
Okay. So I think so I started using Excel in 20 20 2012 2013, right? So and of course in my NYC period, so I read all the Linda. There's this Excel video, Linda advanced Excel video, and VBA Excel on Linda. So that's what I used my NYC to sort of do with my when I was doing my professional exam. So I was serving in Ekoma, so I had all the time to though I've been using Excel before then to do basic formulas, and but when I use the Linda is, I think is it Linda or something? It's almost like 100 videos. So I watched all the 100 videos. I took notes. Then I also used it in I also use it to help Ambosali University to automate their budgeting process. So, they used to do budgeting, the way they used to type in Excel and do the budgeting process. So I had to help them to automate how to properly just make it more flexible. And and so because I had the opportunity that as I was learning it, I was looking out for that opportunity to use it. So luckily for me, I was posted to Ambosali doing my NYC. So all those videos, my Linda's video, my VBA code videos. So I was already using those VBAs in Ambosali there to help them to do even basic things in VBA then. So I help them to open multiple sheets, hide sheets, open folders, use VBA to, do some basic things for them, even though it wasn't that complex. Yeah, so that's where it all started. And I remember that during my interview in Sahara, that was one of the selling points for me, right? So because they saw in my CV that it was clear that I put Excel all over it and say I can use spreadsheet, I can do anything on spreadsheets that I can. So and they asked me what I can do. What they currently do that I think that I can do with Excel. Then of course I listed some things how to do linear programming. So luckily for me, as I was doing things in my ACCA, I was already know that okay, Excel has linear programming like your solver. You can use it to do build optimization models. So I use that as a selling point. So when I entered Sahara, I was in financial reporting at first, but the chairman said no, that I should go to financial, I should be part of the team that will start financial planning. So they used to call us number guys then. So then, so in financial planning in Power, because Power is a very big place. Sarah was the owner of Ikeja Electric. Ikeja Electric has over 1,000 1 million customers. And this customer used to do multiple transactions. So you can imagine how large the data are. You see Excel that is almost 900 MB, 1 gig, 5 gig Excel. If you want to open it, I used to use like 3 laptops then. Sometimes you need to work from the server, right? But even when I joined Sahara, I still had to go back to all my VBs. Before I joined, they gave us 1 month to, doing trade. I used that 1 month, went back to on the Linda because I knew that, okay, I've said XYZ in the interview, right? And I knew that okay, this might be a very difficult environment because of the fact that there's some expectation, right? So I went back. I remember one month I used to come to Unilag library. Then I still had my Unilag ID card then. So luckily when I finished Unilag, they didn't collect my ID card. So I used to use it, and most people in the library, they know me. They will probably say, I said, Omo, they do not know me like that. So they just know my face. So they probably think I have carryover. So I'll just use it like that and say, they ask me, I won't say I have carryover. I'll say, they'll say, oh boy, you should shit on you. I'll say, Emo. But I was just using it to use it in the back library to be able to get access to power. I mean, that's in 2015 or so. Yeah, about 2016. So I looked through all those Linda videos, my VBA code, and because when I joined Sahara, we did some training on advanced Excel using, they call it business intelligence. That's one professor in UK that taught us then how to sort of use I think Power Query and using Power Pivots because of the large data we used to work. But even with those training, I mean, when you do training, I mean, it's not sufficient. You have to look out for opportunity to use that thing. I mean, either you have to look really inward about things you do and see, no matter how small those opportunities are, even if you don't do it, you probably think that no, this thing is applicable to something I used to do. Because that's the only way those things can stick with you for a long time. If you should learn a particular skills, a particular formulas in Excel, and you do not use it, I mean, after some months, you will forget. And again, Google is your best friend. Trust me, there are times that no matter, I mean, I can say, okay, yes, I know Excel very well. Sometimes I still go to Google and ask. You might not get the direct answer because maybe I'm asking Google that, okay, what kind of VBA code? I'm looking for a code that can help me to split Excel, a sheet, a workbook, or maybe a cell, a table in Excel into like 5 multiple table by selecting some multiple criteria. I mean, you might not get the exact answer, but you get something similar. Then you begin to process it. So, I mean, Google is your friend. There are a lot of groups, Excel jackets, a lot of things that you can learn there. You can always type in Google and say you want to learn this, and you will get it. Maybe not exact, you will get it. So when I moved to Sahara power plant, so in Ikeja Electric, then I was handling Ikeja financial plan for Ikeja. So what we do basically in financial planning is we do financial modeling. If they want to, maybe they want to buy a new transformer, they want to expand power lines, they ask us to sort of do the modeling, whether it makes sense. You want to model tariff. Why are you paying 15 naira per kilowatt? Why is somebody else paying 17 naira? We model tariff. We also do before then, because Sahara just acquired the Ikeja Electric then. So the way they used to allocate power is that they used to allocate power and say, okay, my uncle is doing Wendy today. Those guys in the DSO, that's those that distribute power, they just allocate it arbitrarily. There's no model to allocate it. So I was part of the team that we develop a linear program. It's like an optimization model that we did on Excel that sort of tells you to give this guy 7 hours, give this guy 8 hours. So when you see that they give you 8 hours, or you are living in an area they give you 2 hours, it's not arbitrarily arrived at. There's a model that we worked on way back in 2016 that is what is generating those times. And the model is based on optimizing revenue for the business. So the reason why you see that in Magodo, they probably have 24 hours is because you have a particular area that is a high-end area and they give them more lights. It's because there's no losses there. Those guys, they get all their money, and also they use a lot of power that it gives the company big money. So I was part of the team that sort of developed that optimization model, doing linear programming. I mean, for those that are finance people, you'll have done linear programming in your FM, or maybe when you're in school, you have done linear programming. So I mean, whether you're using simplest method or you want to use is a non-linear programming, multiple objective, you can model it in Excel also. So that's what we did then. So luckily, I was working with somebody that was also my senior when I was in school, and we were also French. So that's where the old Excel. So we started to automate a lot of things. I mean, automating how we do our feeder analysis, automate our models, automate how we compute tariffs. We use VBAs because we were working with large data. We needed to find a way to make it easy. We had to learn Power Query. I mean, go online to learn some of these things so that we can make our job easier. And because most of us are writing exam then too and doing some extra things like lecturing, so we needed to be more efficient with our work, and of course it pays off. Then when I moved to PwC as in the finance advisory, so basically I was just trying to, I moved there because I was trying to, because I'm an accountant, though I wanted to just have the Big Four experience. That's the reason why I moved to, I just wanted to sort of have Big Four experience. So I moved to PwC in the finance and accounting advisory. So I had time to do technical accounting, like financial reporting, right? So because when I was Sarah, I wasn't focusing, I was focusing more on financial analysis, modeling, quantitative finance. I mean things that had to do with number, not core IFRS and whatnot. So I just moved to PwC to be able to put that in my CV a bit. That okay, I know this IFRS, at least I can do it. So I had to do it in PwC. But Deloitte is the destination. So in Deloitte, I work in the quantitative finance and actuarial team. So think about any complex models in, I mean, credit risk modeling, derivative modeling, helping companies to value their derivative. Insurance, if you do there are a lot of actuarial modeling in insurance, pricing, reserving. So those are what I currently do because I'm more big into numbers, quantitative. So I do a lot of quantitative finance, Basel 3 modeling. I mean, doing stress testing for bank, liquidity assessment. So that's what I currently do, and I mean that's more like the end point for me where I just basically just do content finance. Of course, like every other person, I'm also a street guy. Of course, I went to a public school. I mean, this thing is just learning again. Like me, so I used to learn again and again, again and again. I used to brush up my skills because there are always new things in Excel. I used to go online. I used to, of course, I'm sure I've looked at maybe is it Power BI for Michael before or something. Is it? I don't know whether it's yeah. I'm sure I've 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 looked at maybe some of those training on Power Query, and I see things on LinkedIn. I just look at it. So those things I learn, even if it's 30 minutes, you see me, I look at it and learn. I go to YouTube, learn again and again, refresh my brain and again and again. So it's I'm just the normal guy. Nothing there's nothing supernatural here. It's just putting efforts, resilience, and I mean keep doing those things again and again, consistency, and look for opportunity to use those things you've learned. I mean, you can't stop learning. I mean, you need to there are a lot of things to learn. I mean, a lot. I still used to learn. Even you don't know, you just keep learning. I mean, today some people used to learn maybe move to Power BI, move to Python. I mean, I still used to learn some of these things again and again. For example, in my team, we are moving all our models to Python. So it requires me to learn again and again and again and again some of our complex credit risk modeling again to Python. So you learn, but Excel is the best starting point. If you can get old of Excel, it's almost impossible for you not to be able to learn any other skills. I mean, before you even go to anything, maybe there are a lot of people say tech, data analysis. I mean, if you should master Excel very well, then you move to, I mean, because Excel has a front end, very flexible. The back end is the VBA code. You don't even need to rush to VBA code. I mean, if you take your time to know the front end very well, to do the back end won't be hard because it's the same for you just write the same statements and write it's the same logic. And if you want to move to other things like Power BI, move to other things like Power Query to help you to work with very large data, and, I mean, do things, automate things in a proper way, move to any other skills, you will definitely get it. So I think this it's a good opportunity. I don't know if I've answered all the questions.
Oh, it's you've done a lot of wonderful taking us not just your journey, but inspiring other people and encouraging them to always have that learning attitude. So, which kind of answers the next question a bit, but I'll still ask it in case you have something extra to add, which is what's your advice for people who just
So
starting
I
out?
don't
I don't want, okay, what's your advice for people starting now? So, not just starting in terms of I just graduated, but maybe I've had some work experience, I've been in another space and I want to move to this space. So those two categories of people, new entrants into the old work field, and some people that are switching careers. Maybe they've always done the accounting side of finance. They've always been maybe entering records, and they want to move to this exciting side of it, the whole planning, the whole corporate finance, and all these area you do now. So what would be your advice to people in that kind of
so
scenario?
All right, thank you. So I mean, if you already have interest in a particular space, it doesn't matter whether you, I mean, for those that already have experience, it doesn't matter your age or time, or maybe you spent 10 years. Once you have, I mean, the learning attitude, those you experienced before is not a waste, because there's a way how everything is connected. Everything is very much connected. I mean, you probably think, okay, I've been doing financial reporting for a long time. I've been doing just bookkeeping, recording, right? And you've spent 5 years in doing this stuff, right? So when you migrate or try to transit into audits, for example, or you want to transit into corporate finance, or you want to transit into actuarial quantitative finance, those that do risk management in terms of credit risk modeling, there's a way those things, your experience is not, I mean, it's not like it's not important. Your experience is still, you still, those experience you've gathered will still come into place. But the big thing is that you need to just have, once you have that attitude to just learn, ask questions, connect with people that probably have sort of excel in that space, and you can ask them questions and say, okay, what kind of professional exam do they need to do? If you need to do professional exam to help you, or what kind of book do you need to read? What kind of skills do you need to get? Let's say you are coming into the corporate finance world. We are not saying, okay, you need to know how to do valuation. You need to understand. You need to have very good Excel skills. You need to know how to model different scenarios, right? So, I mean, that will help you once you can learn, and you can just, you have this open mind. I mean, there's nothing difficult. I mean, it's not difficult. You just learn it. Those in that field before too, when they started, they don't know anything too. So, I mean, you just learn it and you learn it and you get better at it over time. You get better at it, and that your experience before is not of waste, because it will come handy. There will be a difference between you that you have 5 years experience in financial reporting and you want to transit to investment banking or corporate finance. It will be different from a fresher that is just coming from university. So that experience, don't look at it as, just think about it that you just want to transit, because these things are still much connected. They are connected in one way or the other. They are very much connected. I can tell you that. So that's that for I mean, for those that are trying to change career. And if you want to change, once is your interest, I mean, you need to just change. But I would advise that before you change, of course, you need to be sure that's what you really want to do, right? Because it's very important that we sort of enjoy what we do, because I mean, the work is going to take a major part of our life, and the only way you can do good work is to sort of enjoy what you do, and to a large extent. So it's very important that that aligns with what you want to do. You know, some people can transit to, for example, people can transit to Big Four, to say the reason I'm transiting to Big Four is because I want to be able to jackpot, because Big Four people can easily jackpot, right? That's your own interest. Of course, it's not a bad thing. People have different motive. Right? Some people can transit to Big Four and say, the reason I'm transit is because I know that if I have this broad experience, I can use it to enter industry and get big role. Provided that what you want to transit, the role you want to transit to, maybe another company you want to transit to, or another career interest you want to transit to, aligns with what you want. So that if it's what you really want, you enjoy doing it, you won't see it as a pain to learn and learn and learn again. And before you know it, 2 3 years into that career, you'll be a master. You'll be explaining to people how you transit from one to another, right? So me, I've transited from I used to do core financial planning, transited to financial reporting, technical accounting advisory, where I have to be reading all the IFRS and the IAS. Though I still do that. Then I transit to actuarial and quantitative finance. In actuarial and quantitative finance, because we still refer back to a lot of technical accounting standard as maybe IAS 19 that is more quantitative, IFRS 9, for example. So I still find myself going back to read if weeks interpretations. But because I had experience on that before, it's easy. Moving to Actuarial also, because I've done financial planning where I had to do a lot of modeling, Excel, do advanced Excel stuff. Moving to Actuarial, it was very easy for me to, I mean, just integrate myself into the system, because of course I was here, I was very, I have that Excel skills already. So it's that's why I said, I mean, your experience in different field is not of waste, because it's still definitely come handy. And for those newbies, I mean, people that are just moving into, maybe you're a fresh graduate, you are waiting for NYC. I tell you, NYC is the best time for you to gather a lot of skills, right? Because you won't have any other time. That will be as much as that will be, I mean, you don't have that kind of time again when you start work. You will face traffic, you will sleep in. I mean, there will be a lot of things to take your time. So this NYC time, I mean, attend different sections. I mean, good that we're having this kind of section. I know that this I've been seeing this kind of section going on and on for, I mean, for previous week I've been seeing notification on this financial modeling. In fact, I'm even part of. I think I'm on the Excel page, and I'm also on the Telegram page for this financial modeling team, right? So you need to join team and learn. Even if you are not participating, I mean, you need to join some of these sections, learn as much as possible, ask questions, because those questions can help you to clarify something. So if you are doing NYC, I tell you, this is the best time to learn as much as you can. Learn as much as you can. If you are not doing NYC, you are waiting job. Of course, develop those skills, because sometimes this is what you say when you know it very well. Say it in interview, because tell them that you can automate. You've done this and walk them through the process. It's not like they'll give you results. I mean, they can see. You can talk with some level of authority to show that yes, you've done something like this before. That you believe that it's going to come very handy when you join the job, and of course, it's going to add value to the company. So develop the necessary skills for you to sort of excel in that particular area of interest you want.
Wow. I wish I could have time to ask people to ask questions because I know they will have questions. But what we'll do is, please, we'll beg you, let us have a part two. The part two, even if it's just what you explained today towards the later end, that we had a bit rush that you're going to explain again. We don't mind, we don't mind just so that, but that one, hopefully, people get to ask you more questions. So, but I want
Okay.
to say a big thank you to you once again for this privilege and your time. We not only took your knowledge kind of, we also took a lot of your time. This is like 1 hour 50 minutes that you spent with us. So thank you very, very much. And to everybody who joined, thank you for staying to this long. Some people have asked for what's the WhatsApp or Telegram group. Will this spreadsheet be available? Yes, I've put the link. So we have a central place. That link is our central place. And if you join it, that's where we plan to share whatever presenter resources we've gotten so that we are being fair, not just people in the session, but people who are also part of the community who did not join the session or who will go watch the recording, they will also get the resource. So I want to say a very big thank you to everyone. We don't have a Telegram group yet for financial modeling. There is for Excel. There is also, maybe I'll just share the Excel Telegram group. The YouTube video will be available by tomorrow on the YouTube page. Just trying to be fast now. So let me just quickly grab us the page where the YouTube will be available. I think I have it open. So all recordings will be available here. And I need to quickly close the session so we can all go and prepare for other things. So thank you, everyone, and have a very wonderful week ahead. Happy Sunday. Thank you especially to Michael Oladele for this wonderful session. I particularly like
Thank you.
how well you were open in sharing your experience and advising us. Wonderful. Thank you very, very much. And bye to everyone.
Bye.
Have a
Yeah,
wonderful
bye.
week.
Thank you. Thank you.